Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the table. Welcome to the Grown Folks Table podcast. So you all ready to have some grown folks conversation tonight?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, it is Tea Talk Thursday, and so we're getting ready to dive into some tea. Y'all got y'all tea ready?
Oh, here we go.
It is Talk Thursday. So if you're joining us at the table tonight for some tea and you have some tea to drop, please drop it in the chat. We want to hear from you because we talk about everything right here at the Grown Folks Table podcast. Well, last week we were having a wonderful discussion. We were celebrating with all of our Atlanta Braves attire. For those of you that are watching that are not in the city of the Atlanta, if you haven't heard, the Atlanta Braves won the World Series. And so we were celebrating and we were talking about how wonderful it was. And we were even getting ready to have our parade in the city. And so our Atlanta mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms, went out to the Truist Park and she didn't receive a wonderful greeting. Did you all hear about it? I'm so confused of why anybody will want to boo my lovely mayor. What did y'all hear about her speech and the fact that the crowd booed her? Now you know that wouldn't go down on a certain part of town. I'm just saying, if I may throw it out
Well, I saw her and I heard some of the boos, but I heard a lot of the talk afterwards about it.
there. Okay.
And I felt that number one, it was very disrespectful. You know, she is the mayor, and that was a time of celebration, and she was just as happy as everybody else was on the success that the Braves had. So it sort of kind of PO'd me, you know, for that to happen to our Atlanta mayor, and particularly with her being on the way out. You know, we just want to show her a lot of appreciation for what she has done and what she's attempted to do as mayor of the city of Atlanta. So, you know, anytime that is shown to anyone, definitely to her, it didn't sit well with me.
And anytime, those of us who are from Atlanta and Marietta, that is Marietta, and that is their truth. That is how they feel about Atlanta. And so I'm really not surprised because that is just the way that city is. When you go to Marietta, they have always wanted to be separate. So it's not surprising to me what they did and the fact that they booed. Yes, they're totally disrespectful, but they are definitely disrespectful people.
Mhm.
What you got, Libby? How did you feel about them booing Keisha Lance Bottoms?
I thought it was distasteful. I thought it was just extremely distasteful in the fact that, you know, no matter how you feel about her, and really, let's just get to the bottom of it. What it's really about is what happened at the Wendy's right up the street from me. And that's really what it's about. The fact that they felt like she went on the defense of this Black Lives Matter um, issue in Atlanta. And then you had her, they felt she jumped the gun in not properly investigating the police officer and basically terminating the police officer. What I think people don't understand was the timing it was very heated. There was a lot going on, and the city was really on the cusp of rioting. The people were all over the streets. And it's interesting, like Dolores said, that is Marietta. These people were not in Atlanta when all of this went on. They were sitting comfortable in the suburbs.
And
So the people in Atlanta who were having the people march down their street and march through their neighborhoods and to feel the tension in the air from that for to set fire to a Wendy's, which was not black folk, a white person did it. So all of this happened under her watch. And so on top of that, you had police officers that were quitting the force. They were leaving and you couldn't get anybody to come aboard. So it wasn't like they could hire police officers. She was in a bad state. So yeah, and it was a pandemic. So if you don't think crime was going to be completely through the roof, then you have to live up on the rock. But I said this before in the podcast. People who are booing and complaining are people who do not live in the city of Atlanta. They do not live here. And so they are weighing in something that they really don't have any buy-in. You're not here. You live in a whole other part. And here we are in Atlanta having to deal with a pandemic and people who were tired of being in the house. So you think people who are into crime and who are people are felony prone or misdemeanor prone, you think they were going to sit around when you do a lockdown in the city? What did you think they were going to do? You dried up the drugs, you dried up everything. What did you think they were going to do? It was going to be violence in a shortage of police officers. How is that her fault? So my thing is to boo her is ignorant, because you're not thinking about really what that entails, and you do not live here. You don't live in the city of Atlanta. You don't pay taxes here. Your children don't go to school here. You don't eat. The only time you come down here is when you go downtown to a restaurant to eat, and you're there for a good 2 hours, and you're going back up to where you live. So I thought it was insulting, and she looked very shocked, because as Joyce said, this was a celebratory moment. This was not a time to boo the mayor. It was a time to celebrate the Braves. So it wasn't about her.
Right.
So I just think it was very distasteful. Very.
Vicky, you want to give anybody a piece of your mind about booing mayor?
Well, I've been reluctant to weigh in because I don't trust myself right now. Because I agree with everything that's been shared, and being an elected official myself and being subject to boos myself. It's just unfortunate that you give yourself to public service and as a servant leader for the needs of the people, and then the minute you make a decision that is contrary to what the stakeholder group, a small group of the stakeholders want, then you're subject to that kind of disparaging kind of action. I'm disappointed. It was a celebratory moment for Atlanta as a whole, Metro Atlanta, including Marietta, okay? But we always have those that take advantage of the moment and make it something less than. And so, but Keisha's a big girl, I promise. She might look shocked, but Keisha a big girl. And as I like to say, you got to put your big girl drawers on when you do this kind of job. It's not for the wimps. It's not for the faint of heart. It's just true.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
You shake yourself, you dust yourself off a little bit, you wash your face, and then you get back in the game.
Yeah.
It's just life, right?
You cuss a little bit and get back in the game.
You know what?
I mean, if she
you know,
she kept it moving. I mean, she kept it moving as she has done throughout her tenure and term as mayor of Atlanta. So that just kudos to her.
yes.
And the woman and the power that she has and what it has shown me. I knew her before she came mayor, and I love her even more that she did. So, you know, some things you can't control of people, like you can't control that, you know, but she still showed that I'm Keisha Lance Bottoms. What? You know?
But y'all rather have Kasim.
Okay.
So you like corruption, but
Yeah.
you don't like somebody to have a moral compass.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Marietta, the team is called Atlanta Braves, not Marietta Braves. So, and she is currently and presently the mayor of the city of Atlanta, whether you like it or not.
And they even booed her
I
at the
second
parade
that
too.
emotion.
Yeah.
Like it or not. Well, one of the things I couldn't wait to talk about is let me make sure I say her name right, and y'all please correct me. Okay,
Oh Jesus.
Issa Rae.
Thank you.
Okay, see, I did it. I didn't want to butcher her name. Okay, Issa Rae's her sitcom is called Insecure, right? And have any of y'all seen it? Y'all watched it? Okay. I think she's just the prettiest girl with those white teeth. I just think she is a pretty girl. But you know what? She making some bad mistakes, because let me tell you about Black Twitter. When you up, you up. When you down, you down. They will come for you. Okay? They celebrate you 1 minute, and then the next minute they dogging you out. They was liking her wedding pictures and saying how beautiful she was. And then the next week they were slamming her completely because she had one of the actresses come in with some AKA gear on.
Well, the producers did, but yeah.
Who did? What's her name?
I said the producers and the writers did, yeah.
Okay, see, Libby is being technical. So the producers and the writers had the young lady to wear
which she does write, so
yeah.
AKA paraphernalia, okay? Yeah. But the thing about it was when people were beginning to inquire from the actress that was wearing the AKA paraphernalia if she was a member of the sorority, the young lady said, y'all have got this confused with reality TV. I am an actress and I was acting, and therefore I am not a member of the sorority. And so the members of Alpha Kappa Alpha didn't like that, Joyce. What are they saying? So we're gonna let Joyce start this conversation.
Thank you, because I am a member of the illustrious Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated. So and I felt the same way. I mean, all of us, with the exception, I think, of Dolores, are Greek. And we know what that means to us. We know what we had to go through to get that. And I think when it comes to our brand, then we want our brand to be seen as just like we wanted to be seen when we decided we wanted to be a part of this sorority. And that's why I think it sort of upset a lot of us, because that's just not in the place in which we wanted our brand to be seen. I have seen many of shows that depicted fraternities and sororities, and they had just random Greek letters that didn't mean anything, but we knew that they were Greek, but it wasn't attached to anything. And in that case, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? But to actually have pink and green, and to actually have, the letters of Alpha Kappa Alpha
and the logo,
it just didn't sit well with us. And I was feeling the same way. And you can't blame writers, you can't blame producers, you can blame those people for that. But I think when it was first introduced a few years ago, those same comments came up. So at that time, you can't tell me you can't rewrite something. You can't tell me that you can't reintroduce something and let it be that for the remainder of the seasons that you have. So I am standing firm with my sorority. We want our brand to represent what it was created for in 1908. And that's just where we stand.
But I agree with it. I'm sorry, did you want to say something?
Yes, but what if the girl said she was just acting, so what's the big deal? That's what she said.
Well,
okay.
I mean,
I'm where Vicky is now. I'm trying to control. I'm trying to control. Okay, so if you're acting, that's fine. So then put something else up there and then act that way. Mm-hmm. But you are depicting something that has been established since 1908 that has a respect behind it, that has some legacy and some history and some womanhood. I just feel like that isn't the excuse. That's the excuse that she made, and she's right about that, because she was just playing a character. But I still feel like it should have gone to the top and said, you all should have known better.
Yeah.
And when it first came out, whenever we started talking season 1, it should have been squashed then. But
Would you been okay if
obviously,
she would have wore just pink and green?
no.
But don't on some of the
Yeah,
shows.
because you can wear. I mean, colors are colors, but you totally represented who we were.
Right.
And that was the major issue. You can't stop a person from wearing the colors. It's no different than this AKA holding this red cup.
And he looked delightful holding that red cup.
But I'm just saying.
But the AKs, not just the AKAs, the Deltas, a lot of the sorority. I'm not in a sorority, but my daughter is an AKA. So many of my nieces are AKAs. But I do understand how you all feel about the representation, because your brand, we stand strong in those brands. I'm not in a sorority, but I am in a national organization.
That's right.
And I know how we feel about our brand.
Same
It's
thing.
about, the integrity, the character. And so you don't want anybody out there portraying your brand. And I think just like when you go back to the reality show, I know the AKAs was just not having it. That show was not even out, 11 days before they were marching to get that thing taken off. And a lot of those young ladies, and I actually knew some of them, and I remember saying, you don't really want to do that, because sometimes, it's money. Young people, money are enticed by money. But I do know that the money was not going to outweigh what they were going to lose in the long run.
Yeah.
I saw the writing on the wall, because you can't just do a show like that. I said, maybe it could be named something else.
Yeah.
But I do know, because I do know a little bit about what goes on TV shows and what they do to make good TV. And so they don't care about using, and those young ladies were used. But of course, the organizations, the Greek organizations, are not going to tolerate you out there with their name. And I don't think they use the name. I think they use the colors. But portraying them in that way, in the fashion that they were, the fighting, the profanity, that was totally in a bad light. So I can imagine with the reality TV period, the AKAs are just not having it, and they're just ready to shut it down, because it's more than the logo to you all. I know it's more about the representation. It's about yourself. And so that's just kind of my take on that.
I mean, the truth of the matter is, y'all know better. That's all I can say. Y'all can walk around here talking about it's a character and I'm playing a character. You can say that all day. But one thing you cannot do, you cannot take someone's brand. You cannot hold up a Coca-Cola can without consulting them and getting permission. You can't hold up anything with McDonald's. That's why they had McDowell's. You can't do any of that unless you get permission. And Issa Rae and the rest of the crew, the producers, they all know that. They consult for everything else. If you can consult on fashion, honey, you sure can consult to whether or not you can use somebody's logo.
Yeah.
And they said Issa Rae was being petty about her response.
Yeah, she was.
That's because she's black and silly. That's why.
But when
That's
she
exactly what
found
it is.
out, when she found out, she would start trying to cut the episodes. We got to cut this out. We got to cut this out. She was doing that.
She was kidding though, Dolores. She wasn't serious. She was doing it as a joke. She was like, "Oh yeah, HBO gonna just cut the show." Yeah, right. And so some of the stuff she said, they made her take it down because she was so nasty. My thing is, like I said, y'all knew exactly what y'all were doing. Somebody around there had the appetite to be an AKA, and somebody decided that that's how they were going to live out their lives by doing it on that show. That's what I believe. I could be very wrong, but I don't know why you would just automatically use somebody's logo. The colors, like Joyce said, we don't really like it, but we can't say nothing about it. It's the same way when we see a Beyonce throw up the diamond. Ain't nothing we can do about that. But the one thing that you cannot take that we own by brand, patent, and incorporation is our logo and our name. And you had your first season, there was a cup of something that was there, and there was a mention about that. But the reason why it didn't get the same kind of attention as it did now is because nobody was actually wearing it. And we all know, those of us who are in any organization, when we wear our symbols and our name, it says that we have done whatever it needed to be done to be a part of that. And we've earned the right to represent that. So for people who have not earned the right to represent that, they have no business wearing it. You are not credentialed. I don't want anybody doctoring on me that really is not a doctor. No, if you're going to be credentialed, you're going to be credentialed. So I think it makes no sense, because I think people want to use the excuse that it's just a character. I was just playing a character. But then in the same voice, Amanda Seals, you say you will be honored to be a part of the sorority.
Oh, that's what she said.
Yeah. So
but she would have done better to have a Future AKA shirt on, right, Joyce?
No, she would have done better not to have it. Nothing on.
I'm just trying to irritate
Nothing. She would have done better by not having anything.
But you know what? You know, Libby made some very good points.
Yes.
Really, everybody has, but because when I was thinking about when they do a replica of any major brand,
yes,
they change something or else they get permission. One or the other. You change the name.
They turn it around on the camera.
You do something, but see, there's lines, and I believe they took for granted the Black community and what sororities mean to us.
Yeah.
The writers, they took for granted that they could cross what I call sacred grounds, and you don't do that. And I'm hoping that a lot of hell is raised from it, because if we ignore, see, I think what I hear you saying, there was a cup in the beginning, and that cup got back. And then, so next is the full throttle. Okay, let's wear the letters. And so they could have, I remember when I watched sitcoms before, and they were replicas of HBCUs. Sometimes they had different names or different symbols.
Different world. Different world.
All of that.
Yeah.
So I'm disappointed that they would cross a line.
Yeah.
And as Joyce said, from a historical perspective, what these organizations mean to us and the price that was paid. And it was not about a symbol and a step show. It was about social advocacy and social justice. I'm just disappointed that our arts community does not respect us.
Well, I'll tell you what, the AKAs, they are bringing legal action. They're not playing. They're not playing. You're not going to, and I think rightfully so, because we got to, and I'm glad that they're taking that lead, because it helps the rest of us.
Yes.
Not just in Greek organizations, but in the 100, in the links, in all of those organizations. It helps us to be able to say, you're not going to disrespect us as a Black organization that's organized. We're active in our communities. We're doing great work, and we're not for you to make fun of. Yes. We're not for you to, and you're not going to wear that on a show, and you don't even know what our fundamental principles are. You don't even know what we represent. You see what I'm saying? So I think that's the problem. You haven't gone through any of it to even know what it means to be a woman of Alpha Sorority Incorporated. You don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
But she should have just apologized. I think if she would have just came out and apologized in a nice way versus making fun, it would have gone over a little bit better. Don't you think, Joyce?
Yes, ma'am. I think it would have, and just said, I'm sorry. I just didn't know what this really meant, because I've never been affiliated or made myself a part of it, or even had knowledge of the deepness of what these organizations or this particular organization meant. And then it saddens me to know that they would even think that we as sisters were just going to let that be okay.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
When
That's
these girls go to college, I'm
you
just
know,
saying,
I'm
I'm so confused. I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, I just don't know what
Yeah.
college campus you could have ever gone on and thought you was just gonna stroll across the yard with some letters on without being checked if you want. So I just don't understand why she
Yeah.
thought that was okay, even
Yeah.
acting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not pleased with her at all on this one.
not at
Well,
all.
what else is lighting up Black Twitter is the harder they fall. And
Woo.
if you're not familiar with that title, you must go out and subscribe to Netflix and see the movie The Harder They Fall, because Idris Elba is in there, my homegirl Regina King, and when I say they are lighting up the stage, has anybody watched The Harder They Fall?
Ask how
Okay.
many times.
Okay, I think I'm gonna watch it again tonight.
That's what you need to ask. How many times did you
How
watch
many times?
Well, I've watched it twice. I watched it for enjoyment, and then I watched it for, okay, Joyce, let's really get into it. The enjoyment part was all that fineness that was on there. But I mean, it's a really great movie. It's a lot of blood though. It's a lot of that, but back in those days, those kinds of situations actually, went on and went down. But it's a great movie to support and to see.
Yeah,
When
I
I
watched
say
it too. And I thought it was very entertaining. And I'm
yes,
so glad that they were able to just bring the Black Cowboys, to the
yes,
screen.
yes,
That the younger people can see that there were Black Cowboys
Yeah.
long before, they just, don't talk about it, you don't read about it, you don't see it, but they were there. And I truly enjoyed it. And I'm like, Joyce, I could watch it again, but I don't too much go back and watch movies over. But I thought it was very entertaining. And the opening just blew my mind.
I
I said, I
know,
know Idris is not doing that.
I
I don't want to
know.
give you away for people. But yeah, I was mad with him.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, yes.
But
Well,
I like the ending.
I watched it too, and Dolores, I'm like this. I could watch if I enjoy something, I can watch it many times. I'm like that, and I watched it, and I told my husband because I watched it by myself, and I said I'd like us to watch it together because now I want to connect some dots, see some
Yeah.
things I missed, and I told my daughter because my daughter likes movies, but she critiques the acting and all that. So
Right.
at my age, I'm looking for the eye candy and all that kind of stuff, but she's
Right.
looking for critical stuff, and I said, you might not like it the way I like it, but it was good entertainment. And I love a good Western. I love Westerns. And so I commend them for bringing Cowboys Alive to us because, when we were little, all cowboys were Caucasians. And so it's nice to see some some chocolate drops. And Idris,
Riding horses.
he delivered. And
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I saw it twice. I've seen some negative feedback about it on Facebook and in social media land. There are people who are, from the womanist and feminist movement who do not like it and said that they don't like the violence against women, and they felt that the portrayal of women, they didn't like that how they were portrayed, and they didn't like the violence against the women in the movie. So there are those who are not happy with that, and some of them are people that I know, and that's the way that they feel about it. Now, I don't have the same take about it because I think I think it's relative. I think that's the best way for me to say it. One, it's a cowboy movie. There's going to be violence. I think the women, I would not want them to take a back road to it. I would like to see them out front in the gore and as the others. I like that. I like the role that Regina King played. The other young lady, I like her role as well. Yes, she did go through, abuse and things of that in there because they were, trying to make this exchange of her for this money and whatever it is. But the truth of the matter, had it been a male, I don't know if we would have felt the same because it still would have probably been the same violence. So, but out of respect for what they, that's how they see it. And some people do view it from certain eyes. I didn't get that from it. I felt like it, I think it just portrayed a true Western, the way they could for Black people, and that we were a part of that. We were a part of the West because we were not. It was not all just white people. That we were cowboys and we did participate in that kind of stuff, and that was part. Some of us have that kind of lifestyle back then, and we were relevant. So I think it's well, nobody's gonna everybody's not gonna like it. Let me just say that. But I don't have that same standpoint. I did see that today in a post where one said that they felt like it was just way too much violence against women, and that was a disturbing part of it.
Well, Tina Boykin said she gave it a high 8, and I'm with her. I gave it a 10. Give it Tina 10. Because it was a good plot. It was some good actors. I mean, some eye candy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just
and it was well done. I think
it was well.
And compared to that
the writing
Tyler
was
Perry mess we've been seeing, it's just all the way up there. Was Jay-Z, I believe?
Yes, he was one of the executive producers of it. Yes.
Oh yeah, well, you can tell they threw some dollars in there.
They threw some dollars.
Oh yeah, they put some money behind it. It was definitely done
well. The thing was, although it was fictional, it was still depicted some characters that had history. Like Nick Love, if you look him up, he has history in those Western days. Bill Pickett has history in those Western days. So there were several of the characters that I was like, oh, well, let me read a little bit about them. And they depicted them quite well in that movie, like Libby said.
Stanfield, he did an excellent job.
What? They were all excellent. I mean,
they were great.
But as for the sisters, I rock with Regina King any day because they were some fighters.
Yes,
they ain't ready to take no junk from nobody. Okay,
right.
And
on the railroad track.
Hello,
you got stand on the railroad.
You run over me if you want to.
On that horse, like I wish you would.
We don't want to spoil the movie for others, right? But we want to provoke people to watch it.
Yes.
So I'm going to provoke you because the ending is perfect.
Yes,
it's perfect, and it's going to be some more.
Element of surprise.
Element of the surprise.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this. My husband can't stand watching movies. Like he will fast forward on you in a minute, right? Because it just takes too long. But when I say he watched the entire movie, and then when it was done, he was like, oh my God, the plot was amazing. He always complained like he could tell what's gonna happen, you know? So, without disclosing too much, the movie is really good. So if you haven't seen it, go grab you some popcorn and pull up and go watch The Harder They Fall, because it is so amazing. I'm just glad to have a good film.
It's a full circle movie.
It is.
It's a full circle movie, and it comes all together, and everything makes sense. And I like a movie that can be full circle, and I won't be walking in like, what happened? Yeah. So
I would tell you, I almost wrote the ending. Because I would tell you, my husband, you all know, my husband writes plays. He's written plenty, and so we love to watch movies together because. We love to sit down and I say, so how would you write? How would you end this? And so I'm just intrigued with that. And a lot of times we were really close. But it was interesting. And so we won't spoil anything for anybody, but go out and watch it.
Yes. Yeah. And let's just show our support. I think, here we have, African Americans getting involved in cinema and doing some different images of Black people and roles, and at the same time educating, the younger generation on things. I think we have to embrace that as well. That if anything, it makes us go and research. It makes us go read
Yeah.
about it. It makes us talk about it.
That's what I did.
And it brings forth family dynamic,
Yeah.
the dysfunctional family discussions and things of that nature.
You know what,
There's a
Libby?
lot of that.
You know what, Libby? This made me have a discussion with my husband because he didn't see it, but he saw a little part of it, and it talked about redemption.
Mhm.
Because it's a powerful message
Yeah,
of redemption, right?
yeah,
Do we get a pass from the former life
yeah,
and the mistakes that you've made?
Mm.
Do you really get a do-over in life? Now that's a powerful message in that movie. It really is. It's so interesting because from a spiritual perspective, we talk about redemption.
yeah.
That God is a redemptive God. But in that, I hope people go and look at it because it's a strong message, but it makes you think about the redemptive message of Christ.
Yeah. And then my thing is, don't bring me nothing on West and ain't nobody dying. You just don't. They had people dying and I was happy. They had
Right.
I was
Sit down.
Right, and the
should blow
guns.
up something, honey.
Right. Oh, they blew up a lot of stuff.
Because I'm an action movie girl. I
Me
like
too.
blood
Me
and
too.
gore.
Me too.
So at the
too.
beginning of
And-
the movie, I was like, now they going too slow. I said, now I text my friend, I said, I don't know. I said, I ain't seen nobody get killed, shot. I need some stuff going on. I said, now that one little scene, but now everybody just moping around. I need somebody to get shot. I need somebody dead. But when they start killing folks, I said,
Hello. I mean, it was just good overall to me.
somebody better get in the fight. Somebody better fight in here.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, drop it in the chat if you watched The Harder They Fall and tell us if you're giving it a 10 or you're giving it a 5 or you just don't know what you say. But I can say this, when you talk about quality film and a quality product and quality acting, I mean, I just had to give it a 10.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just really had to. I mean,
And the cast.
The
cast.
Mhm.
All-star cast.
All-star cast. You can't go wrong with
That's
that.
nothing but money.
Nothing
Yeah.
but money. Y'all did that. You
They
did
did
that.
$100 dollars ain't making no sense. So
They get a
kudos,
thumbs up. They get a
JC.
thumbs
They
up
get a
on that
thumbs
one.
up.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight at the Grown Folks Table podcast. We'll be right back here next Thursday. Don't forget to go out to all podcast platforms and subscribe to the Grown Folks Table. Good night.
Good night.
Good.